So part 2 of how not to be a nub running your own dedicated rentable server. Remember, if you've not seen part 1, go and check out part 1 for how to actually set up your nitrado account and purchase a rentable server. And part 3 will have the advanced settings including engine and multipliers. This is just all the other general settings that you're going to need to know. So whenever you come to this page, good idea to save it onto your PC or your laptop. You've got a bunch of different tabs up here, but to be honest, you won't really need them. Go ahead and explore them if you want to see what they do or what they are. Lots of them will just show you other game servers, like this one underneath products. It will show all the servers that they've currently got available. And then if you click on games, it will also show you what types of games you can actually rent out. But remember, the majority of these will be only PC. So don't get too excited by seeing this list of games. This is only for PC in most of them. So when you're ready, either click onto My Services and it will bring up your servers. So find your server in the list. Obviously, if you've only got one server, it's only going to be one there. Click anywhere on the grey section and you've got some different options. When you get to the end of your server time, you may need to extend it. It's important to do that before the server runs out if you do plan to continue it on. You simply do that by pressing here and you can set up automatic extension, or you can manually choose how many days you want. Anytime you get lost, always just click on My Services and it'll bring you back up to the server list. If you want to do something immediately, like you want to change how many slots you have, when it will run out, or the location, you can click here. And then if you scroll down, you can see you've got different options. Again, you can choose the host location. You can choose how many slots you want. When it comes to hardware performance, don't choose anything other than standard. You will not need any of these. And you can obviously choose your actual advanced payments. Once you're happy with extending or doing whatever changes you wanted to make, just simply tick continue. And it will bring you up to either your banking part where you have to pay with your bank card again, or it should have it on file and it should be done and dusted. So back on the screen again, press the grey, and you've got a few different things you can do. But to be honest, just ignore these. You won't need these until maybe consoles in the future host a lot more games. Ignore the change down upgrade. You don't need to show in global server list that just simply lists all the servers going on. Don't need to change the subdomain. The only two options left really to look at are edit guest rights and the web interface. If we click on edit guest rights, now this isn't just for everyone that joins your server. These are the only people if you want them to do stuff on your server. I'm going away on holiday, so I've already got 4 or 5 people that can access my servers and change the settings whenever they need to. They simply have to create a nitrado account, and do that just by going up to the top section there where it says login or create, and just make your own account. The person who's creating their account to be a server admin for you doesn't need to pay anything. They just simply need to choose a username and create an account. Once they've created their account, they simply send you the name of it and you just put it in there and you add it there. And there you go. It comes up with the person I want to run my servers. You can change exactly what they can and can't do. There's lots of different options there. I'm not really going to go through that because lots of them, they're not really needed. But just in general, if you trust someone enough to run your server, click that box and it will tick all of them. And when you're done, click save. And there you go. RunsWithPencils is now able to manage this server. So click on the grey again, and the last one I'm going to look at is the web interface login. Now this is where we actually start mucking around with the settings and we do stuff to change how the game plays. It will give you a CPU usage, your memory usage, and how many players are actually currently on the server. Don't worry sometimes if it says 0 and there are people on your server, it can take a while to refresh and sometimes it just doesn't show them. Underneath information you've got the dashboard, which this is. Then you've got the DDoS history, event log, log files, server check. You will not need any of these unless you know you've been having some issues. With Wildcard's new attempt at making sure no one can DDoS and do things like duping, in the next few weeks the ARK servers are going to be very secure. Not only that, Nitrado offer a very good security service themselves for their rentable servers. So next up then, let's change the settings. Whenever there's an ARK update, you may need to restart the server manually. Your server will carry on running on the actual current version regardless of what updates hit on the PS4 until you've pressed restart server. Once it's closed down, it obviously needs to download the update, But once you've clicked the restart button, that's all you need to do. Give it 10 to 15 minutes, or depending on how big the update is, and just come back and check it later. Let's go to General now on Settings, just on the left hand side there. Now this is where you're going to make sure that your access to your server is correct. So just for the purposes of the tutorial, I'm going to put JPG as my server password. For an admin password, we're going to put ratbag. Don't worry, these won't be my passwords on my actual servers, so don't get too hyped up. You can change language to whatever you want. There's quite a lot supported, and you can actually change the map. Now currently Ragnarok isn't available, but once the game fully releases, it should be added to the list. So all you have to do is simply choose what island you want. If you ever want to switch islands, it should keep the saved data. You can create different files and you can make backups, and I'll show you that later on. But for now you can go ahead and just choose whatever server it is you actually want to play on. So for this, I know my guys want to play on the centre until Ragnarok comes out, so both my servers will be on the centre. Currently the restart countdown doesn't work. It's meant to flash up with a message saying the server's going to be restarted. Hopefully that'll be fixed in the future. A lot of this is pretty self-explanatory, so excuse me if I'm telling you something pretty obvious. But I find that with guides and tutorials it's best to be super safe, so that no one gets confused or mixed up. You can click gameplay log and it'll just simply give a log file for everything that's happening on the server, but I'm not really going to bother with that. Spectator password, to be honest, I don't see the point in having it. I've never seen it utilised in any way, shape or form on something else other than maybe something like an SOTF tournament. So again, I would leave that blank. So something's gone wrong. Maybe the server's broke, maybe something's drastically changed. Maybe you've made a mistake and you've accidentally wiped all structures. You can back it up and you can load it up. You've got three options. Start with current save game, start with a new save game, or start with a wiped save folder. Obviously depending on what you want to do, if you want to start a brand new server nice and fresh, you would choose new save game. Now there are some options for procedurally generated maps, and you can clearly see the map's name. You can change it to the procedurally generated ones. Unless you're only planning like a weekend event, I really wouldn't suggest these maps at the moment. They're still incredibly buggy and unreliable. And while I don't know for definite how they'll actually run on the PS4, I do know that when you run them actually on the consoles themselves, they are still very much an issue and they take a while to load in. Wait until that gets stabilised or they add some more optimisation to it. Now if you do want to muck around with these and you want to experiment and see how it goes for yourself, if you go to the Community Crunch, you'll actually see what you have to do. Now you could copy and paste these if there's a particular map you like. All you got to simply do is copy and paste the actual code line. Otherwise you're going to have to learn what every one of these do. Now obviously you can play around with it on your console first, but if you don't know how to use these by now, it's going to be maybe a little bit hard to really get to grips with it quickly. Thick Freedom done a really fantastic tutorial on it, and while it might not have every single option in it, it's definitely got the majority, so go and check it out. I'll try and find the video and leave the link down below, but it may take a few hours before I can do that. I will leave this link down below as well. It's how to quickly procedurally generate ARKs. So that's out of the way, now let's look onto restrictions. Now just like the Xbox and the PS4, most of the options are the same. So unless you're a complete numpty and you've never changed any of the settings, some of these should be pretty, explanatory. So I will go through these a bit more speedily. Prevent survivor download, simple put, no one can download their old character. Prevent item download, obviously the same thing goes for Dino download. You won't be able to download any creatures or items. Unless it's a cross ARK server, I don't think you can do that anyway. You might be able to do this if you do move maps and you've uploaded your data to an obelisk and you change maps. If you keep this enabled, you should be able to download your character and dinos just like you do on a normal ARK server. And the same goes for upload. If you don't want people uploading stuff to the obelisk, you can simply tick these boxes and it will stop them. Gameplay options. Flying inside caves. Simply put, tick it and you allow people to fly in caves. Same thing goes for third person mode, just simply tick it, crosshair and hardcore. Obviously hardcore is when you die you get wiped to level 1. As far as I know, enable status notifications simply tells everyone on the server what's going on. So if there's a restart it should pop up. You can choose whether or not to have it on that people will join the server and it will let everyone know, and you can choose the message that when someone joins the server, i.e. welcome ratbags. Most people don't have these turned on, as it can be quite off-putting seeing someone join the server, particularly from a busy one. Local chat only, again, simply put, it's exactly like the console version. If you tick that, you'll only be able to talk to people in chat when they're close by. You can get rid of name tags by disabling the floating names. And if you don't want anyone accessing any of the bosses, you can actually stop it. The no tribute downloads will stop anyone from summoning. Show players on the map, self-explanatory. Enable global voice chat. Again, I wouldn't necessarily have this on, particularly from a busy server. If you've got quite a large server, it's going to mean you can have up to like 70 people all talking at once. One of the more harder things to understand, and this is where I come in to help you, is the difficulty offset. This is basically that setting that allows you to make the game harder, i.e. the dinosaurs will be much higher level. Do not change this wildly, you will have a huge, massive problem if you do. If you leave it blank, it should have the default levels for dinosaurs, so you'll get up to level 150. The wiki might have some outdated information, but I will leave the link down below because it gives you a rough scale of what to adjust it by if you want more than 150. You really don't have to change the numbers much. Put it 1.2, 1.5, do it in that increments. Don't go mad and put level 10 because you'll end up with level 1 million dinosaurs. So trial, experiment, but I would say leave it on its default setting or only increase it by 0 percentages. Maximum structure count allowed nearby. For builders out there that are always frustrated by the build limit or not being able to build because other people have their builds nearby, you can increase the actual maximum structure. So while you can increase it, it's advisable not to go too mad, as you could be faced with server slowdown, lag or crashes. Now I've got quite a big team of builders and that's generally what they like to do in PvE, so I'm going to increase that to 1600, and that should be more than enough, well, for some of them. If you don't want people building huge mega bases, then you can obviously reduce that down and it will stop them from making the server laggy, particularly if you've got busy servers. Days cycle speed scale. Just like the settings on the console, if you want it to be quicker, so you don't want it to be nighttime very often, you need to reduce it down to 0 point something. If you want nighttime to go quicker, then again you need to increase that. If I remember rightly on console, it's been a while, but putting it up to something like 4 will increase the actual nighttime speed really well. And for many people, they don't necessarily want to have to sit through the night time. And again, if I remember rightly though, for daytime scale, you actually have to reduce it. So again, I'm going to put 0.2, and that will give you extra long days and very quick nights. And the actual changing from daytime to nighttime won't happen that often. Of course, if you want it plain and simple, you can just leave it. Or if you're some sort of sadist and you want it to be nighttime, then obviously you just need to change the nighttime scale to something like 0.2. And it means you'll have an extra long night. Prevent disproportionate harvests. The higher your tool's quality is, the more you can actually harvest. Now sometimes with the way that you can craft certain items, particularly ascendant stuff, you'll find that you could easily over encumber yourself just by hacking away at a few trees. So people often put this on to stop that happening. However, I quite like the idea that if you've got a really good tool, you should get a good amount, even if it is too much. That will be down for you to sort out. Now this one's not used anymore, but in theory you could use it if you wanted to do something particular. Destroy all swamp and snow structures. It will delete everything in that area. So if anyone's built any type of base, it will destroy it. I generally would leave that off. The next one is destroy all wild creatures. This is an option that will actually happen every time the server is restarted. So after a fresh update, it's always advisable to do this to make sure that you're getting the influx of brand new creatures that are usually added to the game. However, if you're restarting the server frequently, it means that there'll be a dino wipe frequently. Currently, dino wipes on console can take up to 15 minutes the first time you do it, and even after that they can take a long time. The problem seems to be the game is freezing because it is deleting thousands and thousands of creatures. So definitely tick it on and see how it goes. If you end up having to restart your server quite a lot, you may want to take it off. However, like I said, it's advisable that every time you start the server because of an update, you want to do a dino wipe. Don't worry, tame dinosaurs aren't affected. If you don't want anyone able to use any type of smithy, fridge or any sort of container, tick this box. Otherwise, unticking it will mean that people can access certain items. For PvE, I think it's a good idea to leave it off. It means you can make community places where people can come and use certain things like the smithy. However, in PvP, you don't want that to happen, and so it might be a good idea to tick it so that you can set a new pin. Damage dinos by spike walls. Simply put, it does that. If the dino hasn't got a rider, it can actually take damage from spikes. Now, while you want your spike walls to keep creatures out, particularly wild ones, if your creatures aren't put on passive, they will run after that creature attacking if it's in range, and they actually may get killed by the spike walls. So if you do tick this, make sure everyone on server is aware that they should put their creatures on passive so that they don't get kited by a wild creature. If you're confident in your actual base's ability to keep out wild dinos though, maybe you've got lots of gates, maybe you've got lots of fences, then simply tick it on and it will do damage to them that are attacking. I'm going to leave it off. Disable loot crates. You can actually stop it for outpin. There won't be any beacons, there won't be any loot crates. Show floating damage text. Use this to enable RPG style pop-up text. Now for single player games, this is actually something that a lot of people can turn off or on themselves. Disable imprint dino buff. If you imprint a dino, supposedly the player that does it will get a small buff to their damage resistance. So you might as well leave that off so that people can actually get that small buff. Allow anyone baby imprint cuddle. It's simply put, it does what it says. I would leave that on, particularly if you're in big tribes, but maybe not on PvP, so that you can stop people from actually stealing your babies or actually raising your babies as their own. Override structure platform prevention. Simply put, you can put turrets down pretty much anywhere. Non-permanent diseases, exactly the same on console. If you die, you will lose the disease. Prevent diseases. If you don't want diseases at all, just tick this box. Prevent tribe alliances. This is something you've got to work out. If your PvP is going to be more of a solo tribe aspect where people will actually fight just against each other and no alliances can be made. Obviously for PvE I think it's important to leave it off, but again you've got to decide that. Allow raid dino feeding. If you want to keep your Titanosaur forever, you need to keep this box ticked. Server crosshair. Yep, you want that if you want crosshairs enabled. For some PvP servers you may not have it. Allow hit markers for range attacks. I'm going to turn it off. No fish loot. If you don't want anyone getting any loot from fishing, tick that box. One of the brand new options they implemented a few months ago is to do with pillars. Fast decay unsnapped core structures. This stops people from going around claiming land with pillars, or supposedly it's meant to. If a pillar is on its own, it will decay much quicker than it normally does, up to 5 times the amount. So if your server is going to be public, it may be a good idea to keep this on, but if you're on a server with just friends and you can trust everyone not to go land grabbing, I would actually turn it off. Tribe log destroyed enemy structures. Changed enemy structure destruction log for the victim tribe to not display in the tribe logs by default. If you don't want people knowing who's destroyed each other's bases, tick that box. Override official difficulty. Now be extremely careful with this. If you put this on any other number than 0 or 1, you could see your actual difficulty of the dinos go up by like a huge amount. If you've done the difficulty offset correctly, there should be no reason to do this unless you actually plan on having a super OP level. I would leave it at 0. False flyer explosives. Made all flyers except for quets and wyvern become grounded if you put C4 on them. Obviously particularly for, not kamikaze creatures. On PvP it's a legitimate tactic, but some people don't necessarily like it. Destroy unconnected water pipes. After 2 days real time the pipes will auto destroy. Yep, absolutely put that on. Stasis keep controllers. Keep the AIs in memory for better performance. Increased RAM usage. We recommend this setting only on performance issues. So basically leave it blank. If you're noticing a problem or there seems to be some issues, then certainly go ahead and tick it, but I would strongly suggest you just leave it blank. Allow crate spawns on top of structures. If you want to stop people from blocking off spawns or from the actual drops, you need to tick that box. So instead of the actual beacon not actually landing, it will just simply land on top of whatever someone's tried to block it off with. Auto destroy decay dinos. This is just a simple, nice, easy method to get rid of any dead bodies that are littering around, and it will help reduce lag and any performance issues. Maximum amount of dinos tamed. There is an actual limit, but it's usually only on Xbox or PS4 single player or a dedicated server. Now we've got rentable ones, you should be able to have that as unlimited. Now that may change depending on how busy your server is, and if people are going absolutely nuts taming creatures, you may decide to reduce that. Now this is a big one for lots of people that really didn't like the fly nerf. Allow stamina recovery while flying. If you're on your Quetzal, if you didn't notice, if you jumped off it, it allowed the stamina to regen. So if you want that back, you can actually tick it. Allow multiple C4 charges per dino. Simply put, on PvP, you can make your creature absolutely go kaboom. I would tick that for PvP, I'm not doing that right now. Allow platform saddle multi-floors. Absolutely, I'm really interested in seeing what people can build. Allow unlimited respecs. Another nerf that you might not have liked is the Mindwipe usage. If you don't know, you can only use a Mindwipe every single level. So while that seems like you get 115 times to use it, you obviously don't use Mindwipes until you get later on in the game. And so if you've maxed out your character, technically you can only actually use one Mindwipe. I think choice is good. I think choice particularly in PvE is good. But in PvP I wouldn't allow it. Prevent spawn animation. It helps reduce lag, it can get the game started quicker, so I'm going to actually disable that. Corpse locator, something fairly brand new entered into the actual game. 100% you want that on. It will show you exactly where your body is when you died. Disable structure displacement collision. Basically no clip. Very similar to Structures Plus. Again on PvE it's totally fine. But currently on official servers this is not enabled. Only for single player. So if you're hosting a PvP server you may have to make the decision whether or not to allow it or not. People may find ways to abuse it and create bases that are inside rocks, or extremely hard to destroy because the foundations have been placed inside or clipped inside rocks. Use single player settings. When enabled, this edits all game settings to be more balanced. Obviously you don't want that unless you plan to have your server as a really super easy server and you maybe don't want to mess around with some of the stats. But for most people the whole point of having your own server is to change the stats. It's your server, you want to use it in any way you want. So I would leave that off. Constant fast decay period. You can actually change how quickly items decay, particularly like I said the pillars that get put around. I would actually just leave that as it is, unless there's a real problem with people going around land grabbing. You could then reduce it so it goes even quicker. Disable PvP, enable PvE. Yes, we're clicking that on. Obviously if you've got a PvP server you need to leave that off. Offline raid protection, woohoo, on PvP. Yes, so if you only want your bases to be destroyed while you're online, then make sure you've got that ticked. Prevent offline PvP interval. Now the offline raid protection doesn't come into effect straight away. There is an actual timer for it. I'm going to go ahead and reduce that just as a template to show you. So that's about 3 minutes 20 seconds after everyone from the tribe has logged off. Your structures and your dinos will be safe. Change gamma in PvP. Simply put, if you want people to allow them to change their gamma, you can do. Activate structure decay on PvP servers. Absolutely, if you want people to have to take care of their buildings and keep them updated, then keep that on so they have to repair them. Same goes for dinos. Disable friendly fire. If you don't want to kill your teammates or harm your dinos, make sure you've got that ticked on. Allow cave building in PvE. Again, if you've got a good server with trusted people, you can actually put that on and it means people can build certain things in certain caves. But obviously on PvP you don't want that because it will mean people can block off the caves. Allow flyer carry PvE. Obviously in PvE just leave it on and it means you can carry your friends through caves. Disable Pve Gamma, there's no point in having that off. PvE allows structures at supply drops. You might want to tick that on. There's been lots of issues lately where supply drops drop. It stops people from building even though they're not actually right near it. If it becomes an issue where people somehow are blocking them off, then simply you can actually untick it. On the public server, I would probably leave it off. PvE timer enables the PvE timer, needs to be unchecked for PvP to function. Obviously I'm running a PvE server on this one, so I'm going to leave that on. But if you're doing PvP, you absolutely make sure you have that off. Use system time for PvE timer. Now I've gone through this before in a separate tutorial, but basically you can actually start how long PvE will last, and then in doing so you actually decide how long PvP is. So if you are running a server where there will be occasional PvE or PvP, you may need to research exactly how much time. It is in seconds, so simply use a calculator and work out exactly how many hours, how many hundreds of seconds you're going to need. Now, I'm not going to lie, I can't remember exactly when it starts. I think it's like 12 or 10 PM. You may have to give it a little trial and error, but whatever number you put there, that's how long PvE is going to basically start. So if you want PvE to start at say 6 o'clock in the morning, you need to work out 6 hours in seconds from midnight. And likewise, if you want PvE to end at like 4 afternoon and PvP start, then again you need to do how many seconds it starts from either midnight. Switching from PvE to PvP can be complicated. If you're willing to do that for your server, I'm sure you're willing to look it up exactly what time that actual starts. If not, go and check out my tutorial I did on it. I'm pretty sure I gave the exact times of when it starts and when it doesn't end. You just simply need to type in how many seconds you want it to last for. Multipliers. Now again, these multipliers I have covered in separate video. This video is already getting long enough and I don't want it to be too long, so I'm going to leave the link down below and you can go and check them out. If you're looking at your Xbox or your PS4 actual options, they're exactly the same sliders. They may be worded slightly differently, but in actual fact they're worded pretty well so you understand what they do. And now you've got tooltips enabled on Xbox and PS4, it should be pretty easy working out what they all do. So that is it, that is the guide part 2. Part 3 is going to be looking at the engine settings and the more advanced settings like player stats and dino stats. So stay tuned for that one, and of course if you've not seen part 1 where you actually work out how to rent the server, go and watch that soon. I'm Jade Plays Games, I'll see you for the next one.